Hey friends, I wanted to come and answer a really great question that someone asked, and that is, what is the lather like for your soaps? And I think it's fantastic that you asked that question, so I'm going to go ahead and answer. So what I'm going to do right now is really walk you through a demonstration of many of the soaps that are in the shop and some that are coming, because I want you to be able to see. So the first soap that I am going to demonstrate, and I also took samples from all of the soaps prior to having them final, so don't worry, but this is the Unscented Coconut soap. So anytime you're working with coconut oil in terms of using it from a soap perspective, it creates an amazing lather. It's very, very high lather, it's high foaming and all that fun stuff. So you definitely will be able to kind of have fun with this soap. I always make sure that anytime I am working with a soap, I always test it with the hand washing method. I also test all of the soaps from a pH perspective and make sure that they're around 9. That's typically the standard in terms of the basis, or pH rather, of different soaps. So that was the coconut oil based soap, which is unscented, and it definitely cleans. I will say that for sure. And I follow up by using my whipped body butter or even my body oil afterwards, and I definitely love how soft my skin is once I'm done using that soap. And it's also gentle enough to use on your face as well. But again, I always follow up with my facial oil, and I love to use hydrosol. So I typically use a lavender and rose hydrosol right before I apply my facial oil. So it doesn't have a crazy coconut smell either, which is sometimes a problem that a lot of coconut based products have. So that was definitely something that I was very pleased with when I started working with that particular medium. This guy is Cadet Blue, and this has a mix of a lot of butters in it, from Shea to olive. And anytime you incorporate olive oil, you are not going to get as much of a lather. So it's very gentle and soft. So you can see this soap is primarily olive oil based, and it does not have a great lather. It's very soothing and comforting, which is something that I love, but I wanted to show you how there's not a lot of lather there. Same thing here when I am working with the various types of soaps that I have. It's always very important to me to maintain the moisture of your skin, to prevent transepidermal water loss, and really to protect that lipid barrier on our skin. And a lot of times it's also very important to make sure that you're constantly keeping what's called your acid mantle balanced, and that is just that protective layer of sebum and your oils and or just bacteria that naturally live on our skin. So you definitely want to make sure that you are always protecting that layer. This one is Apple Harvest, and this is actually another cold process soap, but it comes from a base. I love the smell of this one. And when I say base, it just has different things that I purchased from Brambleberry, and this one actually has palm oil in it, which is also another high foaming agent in it. And palm oil can be very controversial, which I always make sure that when I do use products that have palm oil in it, that I also get a sustainably sourced palm oil if I use it at all. Most of my products, I would say actually all of them except this soap, do not contain palm oil at all, but because I checked out, called the company and made sure that it was sustainably sourced, I was okay with that. But this is definitely a high foaming lather, and it is due to that palm oil. It still leaves the skin nice and soft. I have no issues there, which is also partially why I'm okay with washing my hands 6 times because I do add a lot of love and care as it relates to, again, just protecting the skin, making sure that we have a good barrier there. And I will tell you a story while we go into our last 2 soaps. And that is, and while I'm doing that, I have chocolate fudge here, which is actually made with real cocoa powder. This one's lovely. It is not available as of at the time of this recording, but it definitely will be. This also has coconut oil in it as well, and it is another high foaming soap. So I'm just gonna put the pieces down, and I also put a little bit of gold glitter in this, so that was very fun. So again, it is very high foaming. It leaves your skin nice and moisturized, and I'm just gonna rinse that off. But to my funny story, I actually went in, of course, I had to go to the bathroom, which I never really like to do in public places, but I used the soap, naturally, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I would say within minutes of finishing washing my hands with soap, my skin started burning. It was on fire. And I realized at that point, because I do so much with all of these oils and not using a lot of chemicals in my products, that my skin was like, sis, what is this? So it's very important to me to make sure that I'm using organic, wild harvested, or naturally sourced items whenever possible, because what goes on our skin is really important. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing the best that I could do in terms of finding those suppliers that I aligned with. So the moral of the story is that that was slightly traumatic. So I immediately came home and I stuck my hands. I melted my body butter, did a nice gentle hand scrub, and then put my body butter on my hands and just sat and did nothing. But this is an olive oil soap. This is going to be incredibly gentle. It is very good for folks that have sensitive skin. And as you can see, it doesn't have a high lather at all. And I also like using it with small children because their skin is also very sensitive. And it's really quite cool. So it does not have a high lather at all. If you're really looking for something with a high lather, either try the coconut soap, apple harvest, actually really any of them, that, because I don't have a lot of olive oil based soaps just yet. I'm actually going to make a batch or 2 or 3. And then finally, this is a mixture of the Unscented Glycerin soap with the Shea soap, the Shea butter soap base. So again, I combine the 2 mostly because the Shea butter base does not have a high lather, whereas the glycerin soap does. So I'm just working this together. I also added some mango butter to the Shea butter base just to, again, just add some additional decadence to the soap. And as you can see, it is a relatively high lather. That is also due to the high foaming base. So I just wanted to show you guys those different products so that you'd be able to make a decision as it relates to what you're choosing and what kind of soap you want. None of these are highly scented. They're not very heavily fragranced at all. And I try very hard to be conscious of that whenever I'm making them, because everyone's sense of smell is different. Everyone has different sensitivities, and I wanted to make sure that I was respectful of that as well. So that is it for the demonstration today. And I'll make sure that I have timestamps in here so that you can kind of scroll back and forth to see which soap went where. And if you have any questions, please feel free. Contact me, let me know, let's have a conversation.